Hello, everybody, and welcome to the show. This is the Fight Insight podcast. I'm Timmy B, host and founder, and this is my friend, UFC veteran co-host, Brian Bam Bam Barberina.
Let's go, Timmy B, hit it!
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Fight Insight podcast.
Here we are, Bam Bam. I am very excited for this one, man. This is one I've been getting into fights with people online for like over a week, gathering all their stupid questions and stupid ideas, and we're going to hear and we're going to deal with this because now we have an expert at play, Daniel Chung. He's an experienced trial attorney, a former prosecutor, and a former candidate for Santa Clara County District Attorney. That's where the Cain Velasquez case occurred. For nearly a decade, Daniel worked in criminal prosecution, focusing on the prosecution of violent crimes in both Silicon Valley and New York City. He's currently a senior associate at a large law firm, handles various kinds of civil litigation. He has an AB from Harvard, a JD from Columbia, and is a native of the San Francisco Bay Area. Bam Bam, please welcome to the show, Daniel Chung.
Yeah. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
What's going on? Daniel Chung, thank you so much for joining again.
Second time.
Well, I'm happy to be here this time.
Yeah. Now, just so that the fans know, Daniel Chung really wanted to punch the screen like Bam Bam does. So, Daniel, let's go. Give me a hit it and punch that screen.
Yes.
Look at that.
Yes.
The strong
like
fist of justice. Daniel Chung, man, thank you so much for coming back, because for those that don't know, and I'll put it at the end of the show, you came on when Cain had pleaded no contest because there was so much confusion over what that meant. And so you really helped clarify, and I had so many people saying that you were so great on the show. So I was so happy that you're back. Just to recap that, when he pleaded no contest, this is not one of our official questions, but when he pleaded no contest, was there any possibility he gets zero time?
I don't think so. The law is pretty specific. Even with, a very basic felony conviction, the judge would have had restricted options. He could put him on probation or choose the lower term, the midterm, the high term. But there's some level of limitations on judges.
Okay, because that's what people were saying. They're like, he should serve no time. He should get nothing. And then I'm like, well, he pleaded no contest. Like, he didn't plead innocent. So that's kind of out of there, right?
Yeah, I mean, 99.99% chance. There's
Okay.
no way that he would have gotten nothing. I mean, that would be ridiculous. Even like normal DUIs still get something.
Yeah.
Some guy steals $600 of chocolate bars and Pokemon cards, and he's got more time than Cain.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get right to it. So what has happened, Bam Bam? You and I were scouring the internet, we're engaging with people in discussion, and we've come up with like some of the major talking points that people are saying when they're online. And of course, Daniel, most people know zero facts of the case. They just read a headline and then they comment. And then I get so triggered that I start arguing with them online. First question, and this came out big time because this man is a big supporter of the UFC, big supporter of the fight community. So the question was, why doesn't Donald Trump pardon Cain Velasquez?
Well, first of all, let me thank you again for having me on the show. Everything that I say is my personal opinion. I got to be very careful because I'm a lawyer.
Okay.
Nothing should be considered legal advice, but happy to give my personal opinion about all of these matters.
Yeah.
So the main reason Trump can't pardon Cain is that this is not a federal offense currently. He was charged with a state offense in the state of California. He was prosecuted in California in the county of Santa Clara by a county DA's office, and he stands convicted of a crime in the state of California. So as much as Trump would like to pardon him, maybe, I don't know, he currently doesn't have the legal authority to do so because in the United States of America, we have a dual system of government, a federal system of government, one in which, there are federal prosecutors and federal laws and federal executives. And then there are 50 different states with their own prosecutors, own laws, and own way of governing. And so they're considered sovereigns, to two levels of sovereignty in the United States. And currently, Cain only stands convicted as a California felon. So only the California governor could potentially have the legal authority to do anything about Cain Velasquez's conviction. Now, I will give you a caveat that, with President Trump, anything is possible. I know that even as recently as, the past few days and weeks, he's been talking about serving a third term as president. And under the current Constitution, he can't do that. But he is thinking about clever ways to get around certain restrictions. So I would never say never with President Trump. He doesn't have the current legal authority to do it, but I'm not sure that means he won't try.
Yeah.
Sure. And I mean, the thing is too, he could always influence, right? Like he could always suggest it strongly. Right. Before we get to the second question, I just want to follow up on that though. Why did you say at this time it's not a federal? Could it get there?
Well, technically, both systems could potentially charge Cain. There are a variety of federal offenses available. And if the federal prosecutor's office in the Northern District of California did want to charge Cain, I'm sure if they looked long and hard enough in the federal code, they could potentially find something to charge him with, whether it's something firearms related or something related to his attempt to murder people. In the United States, our codes are so vast and there are so many different offenses that you can creatively charge people with that in theory, there is a possibility that there could be federal charges, but realistically, that's not happening. I think we're pretty much done in terms of whatever Cain committed, in 2022. I would be shocked if the federal prosecutor suddenly brought charges against Cain.
3 years later, mind you. What is the statute of limitations on something like that, though? Just because
it depends on the specific law that's being invoked. Oh, okay. So, for example, in California. Yeah, so in California, generally, misdemeanors have about 1 year statute of limitations, and felonies generally have 3 years limitation. However, for certain types of more serious offenses, there might not be a statute of limitations. Like murder could probably be charged almost at any time, as long as we find the person eventually. So it varies by code, by offense, by jurisdiction. So it's very specific to the facts and charges.
Okay. So you did mention if someone was going to pardon him, it would be like the California governor. So I guess we'll move on to question number 2, and that is, what do you think the chances are that he does get a pardon from the California governor?
I think currently it's unlikely. However, I have seen that Governor Newsom, the current governor of California, is doing a lot of pivoting these days. And I think part of his pivoting is because he still strongly desires to run for president of the United States, even after his governorship is over in a couple of years. I think he wants to stay relevant in the background, and he has a lot of higher office aspirations still. And so recently I have seen him kind of trying to change up his reputation a little bit and, reach across the aisle and be willing to sit down with conservatives, moderates, and kind of moderate his position. So I don't think there's enough political pressure on Governor Newsom currently to do anything about Cain Velasquez. But for example, if President Trump said, I'm going to withhold federal funding to the state of California unless you do X, Y, and Z, he may consider it. I mean, at this point, the world is so interesting, and anything is possible. And there's so many different executive orders flying left and right that politicians and lawmakers are having a hard time keeping track of everything right now. So I don't think there's enough current political pressure on Governor Newsom to do that.
Okay.
But if you do something only when there's political pressure, then we see through it. You know what I mean? Isn't it better? Like, if he is going to do it, and here's the thing too, Governor Newsom,
To do it on his own.
do it on your own.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing too, man. Trump walks out into the UFC stadiums, huge roar of applause, the Joe Rogan podcast, the whatever, right? Everywhere that's supporting him. If you're a politician, you got to know this is a pretty strong crowd.
Yeah.
And if you do something like that now, that may pay dividends later.
Yeah.
So I don't know anything. I'm a Canadian. I have no interest in this. We're not the 51st state yet, Daniel, but
not yet.
but if he does it now, right down the road, he'd be able to say, hey, look, this is what I did for one of your own. And you know, whether he does it or not, I don't know. So, okay. But he can do that at any time. I guess another parlay onto that question. He got the sentence of 5 years, but then it said it was reduced. You and I talked briefly behind the scenes over what the hell does that mean? Is that good behavior and stuff? Can you explain how the reduction occurs?
Yeah. So just because you get sentenced to a specific number in California doesn't mean that you serve that actual number, literally. So even if you're sentenced to, let's say, 10 years in prison in California, you may serve a vastly different number than 10 years. So for his particular case, because he's convicted of a violent felony, those usually have the most restrictions on the types of credits that you can get and the number of credits that you can get. So under California law, under the penal code, generally there's a 15% cap on credits that he can accumulate for a violent felony. So if you want to kind of use easy numbers, you know, maybe if he serves 85 days in actual custody, then he can add on 15 days of credit to get 100 days in total, right? Just using some very easy numbers to work with. The issue is that it doesn't just stop there with the credit calculations. Credits get very complicated because once that individual is sent to, let's say, prison, the prison facility here in California, it's called CDCR, they get to create their own rules and regulations to offer credits to their prisoners as well. And
above that 15% cap.
Yeah. So I'm
doing the math as you're saying this. So.
Yeah. So in actuality, so I know that Cain got a little over 1,200 days time served. So which amounts to about 3.5 years. And so in theory, he would owe 1.5 years in custody, right? 1.5 years more to add up to 5 years. However, once he gets sent to his prison facility, they can offer more generous credits. And I believe under the current standards in CDCR, it might get up to 33.3% for him. So for every 2 days that he serves in custody, he might get a day of credit. There's a lot of variations that can happen in prison because, you know, especially in California, there are wildfires. And so many times prisoners serve as firefighters as well. And because firefighting is a very dangerous activity, and obviously we want to reward people who are willing to step up, even when they're incarcerated, who want to serve their communities, fight fires, put themselves on the front lines, people who serve in firefighting capacities can sometimes get even more credits. So this becomes kind of a complicated math exercise because until he goes to his prison facility, and we'll see what his behavior is like there and what he decides to engage in or not engage in, it's very difficult to say exactly, like, this is exactly the amount of time that he's going to serve. I think what's going to end up happening is that if he still owes 1.5 years actual time, I think he's going to serve about 2/3 of that. So about a year.
Okay.
I will disagree with you, Daniel Chung. I've been doing the math as you were doing it, and I am calculating, assuming he reaches max 15%, max 33.33% on top of that.
Yeah.
Without any fireman duties. I have him serving 234.28375 days.
Well, that's even less.
Yeah.
And you know what?
234 days. That's what I'm saying.
I would not be surprised if he served less than a year. I'm just giving you kind of an easy number to work with. Like 2/3 of a year and a half is about a year. I think that's probably the striking range where he's going to serve.
Okay.
But as a prosecutor, I hear about people getting out all the time, super fast, super easy. And I'm like, how did you even get out already?
Yeah. Yeah.
Daniel just put him behind bars. What the hell? Okay, so I'm saying, okay, so then again with my math, it comes out to 7.809 months. Where he goes in March, 7 more months. That's 10. That's around October-ish. No, yeah, around October-ish. I'm saying he's home before Christmas.
I would not be surprised. I would not be surprised.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Now, okay, good news. I mean, that truly is good news if you're on the side of Cain Velasquez, if you're on the side of justice, which, the predominant majority of people, I think there was a big confusion over whether he's guilty. I didn't like that, Daniel. A lot of posts from, dumber MMA organizations are like, Cain found guilty 5 years. He's not guilty, right? No contest. That's not guilty.
Well, I think we had this discussion briefly last time, but no contest is considered a guilty plea by the court. So I guess there's a distinction that needs to be made. When Cain entered his plea of no contest, he was putting up his hands and saying, I'm not fighting this anymore. I'm not going to affirmatively admit my guilt, but you can treat me just as if I had admitted guilt and sentence me to prison, sentence me to jail, whatever you want to do with me, as if I am guilty. So when the court accepts that plea and now considers all of the sentencing factors, they view him as guilty, right? Under the eyes of the law, he is guilty.
But semantics, he's not guilty. Like, I get that you're sentenced as if you're guilty, but I've never said I'm guilty. No judge has ever said I'm guilty, and no jury.
Do they take in consideration that he came out and chose to say that instead of saying like I'm not guilty or guilty?
So in Santa Clara County, the norm is that most defendants get to plead no contest rather than guilty. So this was one of the shocking elements for me when I came from New York City, where I initially served as a prosecutor, and came over here. I was like, why is no one pleading guilty? Why is everyone doing this no contest bull crap? What is that? Yeah. And what I realized is sometimes guilty pleas can have consequences for civil litigation and other things. And so this is kind of a compromise that has been reached in the county that, look, since we're going to be able to sentence you just like you're guilty anyways, we'll let you kind of use this weird no contest plea to, not affirmatively say you're guilty, but we're going to treat you just as you were. In a rap sheet, which is someone's criminal history, it's going to come in as a conviction, right? And to me, if you have a conviction on your record, that is guilty. I mean, maybe you didn't say the magic words that you're guilty, but if you have a criminal history rap sheet and there's a conviction on it, that means you were found guilty one way or another, right? I don't care how that happened, but you were found guilty. And I think the other thing about Cain is that my understanding is that during sentencing, he apologized and took some level of responsibility for his actions. And so I think in some ways he did admit guilt. Maybe not, he didn't say the magical words per se, but I think someone who expresses remorse for their actions is implicitly acknowledging the guiltiness of his conduct.
Yeah. Very well said, Daniel. Thank you, man.
Absolutely.
Okay, this podcast is going to be 3 hours, just so you know. So buckle in, because we're getting good stuff. Bam, bam. This is so cool, right?
Yeah, it is. Honestly, it's definitely really cool to get the inside perspective and the knowledge that you have and everything on the cases. So
for the last year, Daniel, it's just Bam Bam and I talking our dumb brains off, But this is what we need.
You didn't invite other lawyers onto your show?
No. You're our resident legal expert.
Yeah.
Daniel Chung. We're only going to you, my man. Okay, here's something. John Anik, he's a famous UFC commentator, has a podcast, blah, blah, blah. He made a comment and he says, quote, "What Cain did is what anyone would do." I don't agree with that. I think that sentiment on the light sentence condones vigilante justice. And I worry when people say stuff like that, like, oh, what, and this is everywhere, mind you, not just John Anik, but he did what anyone would do. Daniel Chung, your thoughts on that?
I disagree with that generalization. Although I do agree with kind of the spirit of what he is saying, which I think what he is trying to say is that, look, this was a crappy situation for Cain. You know, the allegations against the child molester are as serious as it can get. That is blood. That is family. You know, people have this kind of gut understanding of this type of situation, right? It's heart-wrenching to hear that your child, your family member was hurt in some way, and not just hurt, but sexually, abused in some way. And to hear that offender is now, roaming around the community, is out on bail, has been released. I can understand how a lot of people would be very upset if they were in that position, and how they might want to seek some kind of individual justice if they saw kind of a systemic failure occurring. So I understand the sentiment of what he is saying, but I disagree that everybody would have done the same thing. I don't think that's true. I think there are some people who would have exercised a bit more restraint and had more self-control and would have thought about the consequences of their actions more carefully. And yeah, there are some people who would have done the same thing that Cain would have done, but not everybody. I don't think that's fair to say.
Right.
Yeah. I think you're right. I think like people, as you said, you feel the emotion, like what he was going towards, but I don't think people would ultimately, I think they imagine they would do the same thing and then ultimately view the consequences of what that action may be. And you're right, there are people that would do it, but ultimately knowing that their actions would have consequences as well too, and have to, deal with that. So I get it. Definitely as a father, I have the feeling too that like, something like that, obviously you want to be able to protect your kids and, wreak havoc on people that do something terrible like that. But ultimately too, there's a justice system for a reason. And it's a terrible thing. But yeah, I mean, I get what he's saying, but also too, I don't agree that everybody's going to do it.
Yeah. No, definitely. I think it is crazy. I think it's just difficult when I hear people say things like that. I'm like, wait, are you condoning vigilante justice? Because this scenario, although as horrible as it is, it happens all the time. Yeah. And so, I like the 5 years it's so weird, Daniel, because to some people it's like, whoa, that's a really good number, right? That's very low. Like a lot of, you were on the show and you had predicted single digits. I had a lawyer previous to you. He's passed away, a great man, Daniel Martinez. Oh, both of you are Daniel. Now that I'm just thinking that. Daniel Martinez, great guy. He had predicted 7 was his number that he had thought. But it's weird when it went online, everybody, blowing up. Either people were thinking, that's really good, man. That's a good number that he got. That's not too much, blah, blah. And then other people going, that's way too high. Yeah. But when you think about it in terms of like a low number, it's like, well, wait, does that now embolden people to go, wait, so if something bad happens, I'm going to go take the law into my own hands. I'm going to go do that. And that's definitely not what you want. And I feel like people that have a voice, have a microphone like John Anik, I don't know that you should be saying that, man, because this is not a one-off case. This is not someone going to the moon. This is something that unfortunately happens a lot. And like, you don't want to tell people, yeah, this is what you should do and it's okay to do it.
Right.
I don't know. Strange. Bam Bam.
Yeah. I think, going off what you said too, I think people, if you have a presence and a following, the wrong idea could come across of saying something like that. You hope it doesn't. Obviously, you hope people aren't, like this is what needs to be done every time something like this happens. So, like I said, we have a justice system for a reason. So, hopefully, people don't take it as that. But moving on to the next question, as Timmy mentioned, people's reaction to the 5 years. You had people saying, "Oh, it's early," that's good, or "Oh, that's why is it so low?" People saying that it's kind of like, "Oh, why is that low?" You're wondering, like, did the justice system fail us? And how do you respond to that? People were saying like, "Oh, it's 5 years. Why is it only 5 years? It should be more."
Yeah, I think I talked with Timmy a bit about this on my last time appearing on this podcast. And I think I have two main threads about this. Number one, the American judicial system is currently under significant attack. A lot of judges are getting attacked lately, at least verbally and out in the press, as to, how could you do this decision? We should impeach judges. We should throw them out. We should ignore them. We should not follow their orders. I think we live in a very dangerous time when the judiciary is constantly being questioned and its legitimacy is being undermined. So I don't necessarily want to undermine the credibility and the integrity of the judge who sentenced Cain in this matter. First of all, since I don't know all the facts, right?
Yeah.
He had a full view of the facts with an extensive probation report given to him that had statements from the victim, witnesses, from Cain. He considered a variety of mitigating factors and aggravating factors that he is statutorily required to do. He has context of other cases that he sentenced people to and what other people in similar situations get sentenced to in this county. So I don't want to question the judge per se. I think the other thread that I really wanted to emphasize again with Timmy here is that I think this ultimately was a failure on the DA's office, right? Because I think the DA's office from the very beginning hyped up this case and said, this is like the crime of the century. We need to put him behind bars. We need to send him away from life. We're going to send a message about vigilante justice. This is not acceptable. You need to follow laws. This was a very serious thing that you did. You potentially jeopardized people near schools. You hurt innocent third-party bystanders, et cetera, et cetera. And then for them to give away their most powerful piece of leverage, right, the premeditation element that we were talking about last time, and then just to punt the decision to the judge and say, Judge, you just make the decision, I think was an abdication of their moral and their legal responsibility. Because I think the DA's office should have carefully evaluated this case and come up with a number, a very specific number that they felt represented the culpability of Cain and pursued it in defense of the people of the state of California and all the victims of this case. I think whenever the DA's office kind of punts to the judiciary, I see it as kind of an act of cowardice, that they don't want to touch hot potatoes. They don't want to get involved in free Cain political, discourse and whatnot. They don't want to make tough decisions. So let's just send it to a judge and, he can deal with the heat. And to me, that's a real abdication of your responsibility. So I think it was a failure in terms of the DA's office. I can't say it was a failure on the part of the judge in this particular situation.
Okay.
So that's so interesting. So then you're saying, because obviously when people online are saying the justice system failed, they're saying the sentence is too harsh. Like, I think that's when people are saying that, they're saying justice system failed because it should have been 0, right? But you're saying it's weird because, okay, so we can't really blame the judge per se, but you think the DA's office should have taken it further, at least let everything play out, and then whatever the sentencing is, fine. Could have ended up the same at the 5 years, but at least let it go through the whole trial.
Yeah, I think the DA's office shouldn't have given up so easily and so quickly, right? When they had been so public about this case and had made it sound so serious and so significant, and just to give up their cards and be like, "We're not going to deal with this no more, Judge. You can deal with it." I think that's a surrender on their part,
Is
and
that
they're
what
not doing what.
is that what happens when you hire a celebrity lawyer? Does that help you though? Because he hired a celebrity lawyer, and I remember at the time going like, "Oh my god, why would you do that? Just hire a good lawyer." Like, I
Yeah.
don't why. But then he made it a spectacle and whatever. Is that maybe why they just go, "Okay, we don't want this"?
Yeah, I mean, in some situations, the political heat's too much. Unfortunately, if there's that much backlash and publicity and eyes on a case, it can affect decision making, and that's kind of sad because prosecutors are supposed to stay neutral, level-headed, objective, try to consider balancing interests, and really look out for the community as a whole.
Right.
And not take part in political matters like that.
Yeah.
But I think when they kind of give in to those kinds of political pressures, it's kind of sad.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to skip the next question because you've already answered that one. So I'm going to go to this one, Bam, and then I'll leave you with the last one. Would things have been different if the trial for the accused, Gillard, had been completed prior to Cain's sentencing?
It could have, but I mean, isn't it astonishing that case is still lingering?
Okay,
I mean,
Daniel, do you want to talk about conspiracy theories? Because I feel like people, I feel like someone did a little wink, wink to get that to not be tried. How are you an accused of, child sexual assault waiting a trial for over 3 years?
it's very sad, and that
Is
is
that
another.
normal?
Unfortunately, for many cases, it is a norm, and it's a norm that has to change. And if there is any fault to be placed on kind of the system at large, that is one failure that is tremendous, and that affects everybody so significantly.
But I feel like it's because it benefits Cain if he hadn't had his trial. Because if that guy was found to be innocent, Cain would be in way more trouble, right or wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I think if he was found innocent, it certainly wouldn't have favored Cain. It would have been a much more difficult time for Cain. But you also have to consider the opposite. He may have been found guilty, and that may have reduced Cain's sentence even more, right? Because then in the eyes of the judge, he's not just seeking, his own justice, but the justice was a bit confirmed by even the courts. He was found guilty. He did do something bad. So this conduct now seems even more mitigating, after someone is found guilty of that conduct. So it cuts both ways. And I guess right now we don't know which way it's going to go, but I do think the delay in justice is just incredible. Cain, whose actions were after the underlying offense, has already been convicted, already been sentenced. He might even be out of prison before the other case resolves. I mean, that it's just mind-boggling to me that case can just linger for that long, and Cain goes through all the stages of the criminal justice system and will probably be finished with everything before we have a final answer on that other case. It's just insane.
That's crazy because and just for those that don't know, I believe that man's trial is set for June 2nd. So I mean, at least it's coming up now. But I mean, in my mind the 5 years was taking into account that the guy was guilty. You know what I mean? Because that's the way it's framed, obviously, is that he's doing this because this guy did this, not convicted guilty. But I feel like in the brains of the people, everybody thinks this guy is guilty. So I'm just saying, I think someone made sure that this trial wasn't done before, because I feel like if he was deemed guilty or no thing, you're gaining that sympathy level, because we're going into this now in the sentencing of 5 years thinking this guy is guilty pretty much. But if you run the risk and that trial happens beforehand and that guy got found innocent, boy, oh babe, that would be brutally bad for Cain. Like, I think that would have increased his sentence from my zero legal opinion, Daniel. That would have been double digits for sure, man, if that guy was found innocent. And then you'd have the public still siding with Cain, still thinking it's terrible, whatever, still thinking it's justice, but they would be even more furious because he would have had a much harsher sentence.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? I mean, we're dealing with hypotheticals, but you know, Cain lucked out. I mean, 5 years is about as low as he could have gotten for attempted murder. You know, he's a very, very lucky man.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Bam, bam.
Yeah.
The last one, my friend.
All right. To people listening, everyone listening, the millions of people we have listening to this podcast, because it's such a great podcast, everybody needs to be listening to this. What should they take away from this?
Their voices matter. You know, your voice matters. And you know, whether you side for him or against him, I think it's important, especially in this current climate that we live in, to stand up for what you believe in, right? And to do it in a civil way, a respectful way that honors the totality of our system. That, you know, we live in a society where people can be intensely divided, right? We can disagree on things, but we're still part of one country, one community, that we all care for each other. I think it's especially important for people to really care about our legal system during this time, when so many different layers of our government and our legal system are constantly under attack, that we be vigilant, we think critically. And, you know, one thing that's very difficult in this time is, you know, withholding judgment and trying to figure out what all the facts are, because there's so much spin out there constantly. People feeding you information, misinformation, half pieces of information. And people really need to do their homework carefully, you know, really think about what sources you're getting information from, how you're digesting it, how you're responding to it. I think all of those things are really important in the age that we live in now.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like definitely doing your homework. You know, like you said, there are a lot of outlets out there that are feeding, you know, some information, little bits of it, wrong information, you know, and a lot of it just to get bites on their feed. So definitely do your homework.
Right.
Yeah, it's crazy, Daniel. Like, one of the things I've been saying is, like, the problem with social media is not misinformation. It's that it causes you to miss information. Like, it's crazy because, you know, it's so weird. If I, like, just something stupid, if I go on my YouTube on my phone, it knows I like MMA and video games and Disney Lorcana cards, right? Like, it knows that. And so all my videos are like that, right? And it kind of feeds into that. If I go onto my TV browser where I don't log in and I pull up YouTube, it's the most random weird stuff I've ever seen. You know what I mean? And it's like, but I would never see that because your phone knows what you want to see. It knows what you want to engage in. And so when it comes to cases like these, like, you know, the Cain trial and stuff like that, I guarantee you all the MMA fans that are watching or they're listening, they see a very one-sided view of that case, right? Yeah. And they will never see the other side. They will never see differing opinions because their phone goes, no, he doesn't like that. Give him this. Yeah. And that's just so weird. And that's just what happens in the world today, right?
Yeah. But, you know, I'm glad, like, even these kinds of cases are bringing the legal system to people's attention. Right? You know, learning about how the legal system actually works, you know, what's actually going to happen after someone gets convicted and sentenced. So many people have no idea how it actually works. Yeah. And to the extent that this case brought publicity to the legal system and made people more attentive and interested in that, I think that's a big blessing and a win that Cain may have contributed to.
Yeah. Definitely.
Great way to look at it.
Going back to one of the quick things I want to say, I remember, like, when OJ went on trial after he was acquitted or charged or whatever the hell happened, then he had the civil trial.
Yes.
Is Cain up for a civil trial even though he pleaded no contest? Will the family members or the person that got shot, will they still sue him now in a civil trial?
Yeah, I believe there are cross lawsuits going on. So I believe Cain had sued the family and
Of course.
whatever that setting was,
Yep.
but I think they have also countersued, probably for the shooting and everything that went on. So this is not the end for Cain. I am sure even amongst the legal things that are going on, there is going to be a part two to all of this. And, maybe Cain needs to continue working to pay some of those bills later.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Definitely add up.
If Newsom pardons him for the sentence, that doesn't pardon him from the civil suit. That's not.
It could be interesting. There are multiple ways in which you can express clemency to a defendant, and so depending on what exactly happens to Cain, whether it's a full pardon and rehabilitation of all of his rights, or whether he just cuts off the sentence and says, no, you don't need to do any more time. There's just so many different permutations that the governor could take advantage of. That it could make a difference later. And so his lack of an affirmative guilty plea, again, may play a role in all of the civil trials.
So this is just the beginning, is what you're saying.
It's just the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so interesting. Daniel Chung, man, for those that are listening only on audio, of course, you can be found at Chung for Change. That's where you are on Instagram. If people want to see you and see what you're up to, man, dude, we think of lawyers as like these stuffed shirt, people that don't that can't speak very well, or just, they're just bookworms or whatever. But man, you've come on this show like twice, man. I appreciate this so much. What a great dude. Bam Bam, anything that you want to ask him before we're out of here?
I don't really have anything to ask. Just, I was really happy to talk with you, and it's great to be, part of this one since you guys already done one before, and, hear your side of the story and, your opinion, and just hear you talk about it in general. I learned a lot personally just from your answering the questions and stuff. And I thank you again for coming on. It's been great.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you so much for having me a second time.
Yeah, it's so awesome, man. Daniel Chung, there's something that I ask all the fighters when they come on, or most of our guests when they come on. So I just want to leave you with this one last question. It's a question that my mom used to ask me almost every day of my life while I was growing up. So I want to ask it to you. Daniel Chung, on a scale of 1 to 10, how happy are you?
8 or 9. I'd say pretty happy.
Good. Okay.
Yeah. Things are going pretty well, and I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm doing a lot of things these days. And, never in my life would I have imagined I'd be on MMA podcasts talking about criminal convictions and how many credits someone is going to be getting. But I think that's kind of the joy and the pleasure of life, that you never know where things are going to take you. I hope for Cain as well. He takes into consideration all the lessons that he's learned and really comes away being a better person, right? At the end of the day,
Absolutely.
All of this is about making people better, right? We want to believe in a system that can rehabilitate people, make them good members of our community. And hopefully Cain has learned a lot and can give back now to the community in very positive and meaningful ways. And I think if he can do that, then, maybe that's a slice of justice for our community.
Yeah.
Right. Very well said, Daniel. And I think, as Bam Bam had mentioned, and as you had mentioned, he did make some good statements that I think, Bam Bam, when they came out, you and I were both saying, wow, man, that's good. What he's saying now, he was being a real beacon for the community and stuff like that. So he wasn't taking it salty. He wasn't being disgruntled and stuff. He really seems to have been able to self-reflect and at least publicly state the things that I think are very good for people to hear. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
And Daniel, a 9 out of 10, an 8 or a 9 out of 10. That's pretty good in my books, man. Dude, Daniel Chung, thank you so much for joining the podcast once again.
Yes,
for the sake of the MMA community, I hope we don't see you soon. But the minute one of these thugs messes up again, we're gonna get you back on, my friend, and we'll be able to see you again. And thank you so much, Daniel. All the best, you and to your family.
Yeah, take care.
All right, have a good one. See ya. Bye-bye.
Bye.
That was great.
Dude, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? This guy's
all
the
the
best.
Questions that were out there from people wondering, asking, with all the in comments and stuff like that. We picked out the majority of the ones that were on there, and all got answered today. And I think it's
I love that.
Watch the podcast. Yeah, dude, he's such a nice guy. He
Such
seems
a
like
great guy.
great personality.
And here's the thing: I don't think he's an MMA fan because I mean, like he's saying, like, why
we should have asked him.
I don't think he is, but then that adds to it, right? Because you're getting a guy who was a prosecutor in the Santa Clara County where this all happened, right? Ran for DA, right? This guy is legit in there, and he's giving you a very unbiased, like, hey, real look at this.
His opinion of the whole thing.
Yeah, we did provide him several of the questions this time in advance, only just because, like, the first time I had him on, I was blown away with his answers. I was like, "Oh, was this like good luck that this guy was so wicked at this?" But now this time, kills it again. But we asked lots of things off the cuff as well.
Yeah, absolutely,
dude. Great dude, man. This guy, honestly, every week I seem to be saying that's the best guest we've ever had.
Yeah.
That said, I do want to apologize, Bam Bam. We were supposed to have this man, Max Holzer, on the left side. He is the main event of Octagon 69. There was a scheduling conflict. Totally my fault. Really fricked this up, Bam Bam. And I'm trying to get a hold of him. Here's the thing. He's going to go kick ass this weekend at Octagon 69. Guys, please watch that show. Here he is. Here's some cool art. That's him in all his different outfits that he wears to the cage. And I'm going to play a little video here. This is where he is. These are his, what do you call it? A menage? No.
Montage?
Not a montage? No, not a menage a trois. A montage? Yeah.
Montage.
A menage a trois of his walkout.
Einen Taler Hohn aus der Ferne erkannt, mit Seiten auf Null.
Awesome.
Dude, that's cool as crap, man.
Okay. Either I read it wrong, or the guy when he's on the Segway, is he supposed to be Paul Blart? Mall Cop?
No, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what that one is. And again, for those watching on audio, come on over obviously to our Instagram or check this out on YouTube, Spotify, Millions, like wherever you're getting this. I don't know. He was dressed in a whole bunch of like what brand is that? Versace or what was there's some sort of brand
Gucci something, I don't know.
Gucci, yeah, maybe it's Gucci, and he's wearing like a Gucci hat, Gucci bag, Gucci whatever, and he's riding a
Segway.
Yeah, like it's so, and that music is so funny. Yeah, he's a great dude, man. I apologize a million times over to Octagon and Max Holzer. I'm so sorry that we did not get him on. Now, if we can somehow magically get him on, and tomorrow I can talk to him, I will add it to the podcast right at this moment.
Yeah, boom.
Okay. Yeah. But if that doesn't happen, man, shit, I greatly apologize. We'll get him on, and I'm so sorry about that. Look, friends of the podcast update, I'm wearing my FLA t-shirt, Fight League Atlantic, of course, April 12th in the Moncton Coliseum. Guys, you do not want to miss that. Get the pay-per-view, fightleagueatlantic.com. Go check out the pay-per-view, fightleagueatlantic.com. Check out their Instagram page and all that, at Fight League Atlantic. Don't want to miss
another
it, man.
Great night fights.
April 12th. Bam Bam, last time we blew the lights out of the building, had a power outage. This time we're going to blow the roof off. The fights are insane, dude. There are a few real grudge matches in this one, which I love.
Nice.
And there are some very, very big stakes for fighters, man. When you're a amateur fighter and, a gold belt is on the line, man, that's the step to pro. That's what you need to make that mark, man. So that's so much pressure in these guys. Jeez Louise, man. But I will be there commentating. I will be there at the weigh-ins, all that stuff. And I'm so excited to be there, man. This looks like a great card. FightLeagueAtlantic.com, baby.
Oh, get it.
Get it. What else we got? Friends of the podcast, Rageworks Podcast Network. Go check them out, RageWorksPodcastNetwork.com. And of course, we are part of the Sweep the League network as well. Go check them out. We do have a few sponsors that are coming on board. Bam Bam. That's going to be probably in the next week or so. And last week, Leon Harriman.
Yes.
Decision victory.
Congratulations, Liam.
Holy crap.
Hopefully ahead for him moving forward.
Yeah.
taking some big steps, calling people out and stuff. So
Yeah, dude, do your
we look
thing, man.
forward to that. Yeah, absolutely.
Do your thing,
Always
man.
proud.
He did it. Went into enemy territory, gets a decision victory. You know how much you have to obviously have won that fight for them to give the
Yeah.
away guy in boxing the win? Like,
Yeah.
geez Louise,
Yeah.
like that must have been a slaughter. So good for him, man. We will have him back on the podcast, of course, before he gets to his next fight. And
Yes.
next week on the podcast, very excited for this, Bam Bam, because the GFL is now posting. Boom. They've booked their first dates May 24th, May 25th in the Shrine Auditorium, wherever that is, Los Angeles. Okay. I don't know how big this venue is. Obviously, if it's the Shrine Auditorium, I'm thinking it's not huge.
Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't sound
Like-
like a huge.
Sounds like where I might have my wedding. You know what I mean? And I don't have a lot of friends, so I don't know. Like, it doesn't sound like the biggest thing. Shrine Auditorium and Expo Hall. Let's see if I can see anything here. Shrine Auditorium is a landmark. Oh, never mind. Is a landmark large event venue in Los Angeles, California. How many people does it hold? Renovated in 2002.
That's a good sign.
Yeah, like it's not super. Wait, 2002 though. That's not long ago though.
Yeah.
I mean, sorry, that is long ago. That's not too recent.
Shrine Auditorium.
Oh, it held the Academy Awards in 2000. It held the BET Awards in 2006 to 2012. Okay, hold on. So this is going to be a big place. People's Choice Awards 2006 to 2000. Okay. Teen Choice Awards, Bam Bam, in 2014.
Okay, the capacity is 6,300.
Oh.
The Shrine Auditorium.
How can the BET Awards only have 6,000 people in there? Miss Universe 2006. I remember that was a good year.
Yeah, 6,300 for the Shrine Auditorium is the
You're just
largest theaters.
You're just going to pass by that joke that I can remember the Miss Universe from 2006. Damn it, that was
I don't
money.
want to smash you on it.
Yeah. You pervert. Yeah, okay, hold on. 6,000 people. Oh, anyways, okay. Next week on the podcast, GFL competitor and former Ultimate Fighter alumni, former UFC fighter, Pani Banzai Kianzad. She's been drafted in. We're going to see what happens. She's got lots of juice and dirt to tell me. That's what she said. And I'm very excited that it's next week because, look, we're seeing a lot of things now. I'm so happy that now we know the date. I know here's on the screen I'm showing. Here's a bunch of the listed fights that are both on the 2 Sundays. I also like that it's on a Sunday, Bam Bam.
Do you?
Sure, because you can't compete with UFC.
I
Don't
guess.
Don't even come competing against Fight League Atlantic. We will kick your ass, GFL. You know what I'm saying? Go on a Sunday. This is why I like when Invicta goes on Thursdays and stuff. Go on a date where we're not already busy. Put your product out there.
Well, they have the Saturday and the Sunday, so whatever they don't get on the Saturday,
Wait, what?
they have Saturday and Sunday. May 24th, Saturday.
Oh,
25th
never
Sunday.
mind. Stupid move, dummies.
Well, I think that's
Well,
a good move because then you
it's-
get, you got some on Saturday, and then whatever you don't get there, people still want to see some fights. Let's go on Sunday.
Okay, fine. The only thing I'll say is that it's at 4:30 Eastern. That's 1:30 Pacific. So it's before the UFC.
Saturday
fight,
ones?
I guess. Yeah, they were 4:30.
Okay.
Yeah.
So look, smart move there on their part there
Fine.
too, avoiding that also.
Maybe it's just cheaper to book the venue and set it up once for 2 shows. Right? Honestly.
Yeah.
I got stuff though. I got stuff I need to complain about with Penny because A, Penny's name is not on here, and B, Bam Bam, when you look at this on the Saturday and Sunday, I'm assuming that's the main card, although that's a lot of fights for a main card. There's 6 fights on the one for the Saturday and 7 for the other. They better have an undercard, okay? Also, those are all big names, man.
What
on
do
that
they
list.
not? How do they have an undercard though? Because the only people
Well,
drafted were
No,
if they had an
When you-
undercard.
When you go back and you look, there's a good mix of super well-known fighters and then lesser well-known fighters. I'm not saying unknowns because everybody's got
Yeah.
a good name. what they're showing is the Gustafsons, the you know what I mean, like the big names. None of the medium popular are on there.
What they
Where
need
the
to do,
hell are
if they don't have an undercard, what they need to do is they need to slide some of those in there, or actually have more fights than just 6.
But this is what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
Pani Kianzad, I'm so excited. I've spoken to her on millions.com before, millions.co before, where we did an interview, and she's freaking great, man. She's a great person, great interview. So I'm very excited for that for next week. Bam Bam, anything else that we needed to talk about today? I don't think so. We've gone through so much, man.
Well, I did a podcast recently called out Tinfoil Mike.
How dare you, you son of a bitch.
I'll throw that out there. I'll call him out on here too. Old tinfoil,
yeah, of course, dude.
Old Tinfoil Mike, come on. Let's get this worked out. Let's throw some hands in there. You're always looking. I saw your little dirty boxing. Congratulations on that. But I saw you on there like, oh, is this guy going to call me out? I'm calling you out. Let's do it. We can do a dirty boxing, BKFC, MMA, whatever, the kickboxing, fucking whatever.
Beach jiu-jitsu?
Beach jiu-jitsu? We got a grappling match with beach jiu-jitsu. No.
Wait, what's happening? So you're on what podcast? Tinfoil?
No, Tinfoil Mike is the guy I'm calling out.
Who's Tinfoil Mike?
Tinfoil Mike Perry.
I thought you said you were on a podcast.
I was on a podcast, so I called out Tinfoil Mike Perry.
Oh, okay. I thought you said I was on a podcast called Tinfoil Mike. And I was like, wait, this whole time
the whole call out. There we go.
God damn it. Okay, re-edit. Okay, go. What? Say it again?
Yeah. I was on a podcast over the last week.
Okay.
Whatever. Just called
out.
out.
What's the name of the podcast, though? Let's give them a shout out.
Yeah. Sorry, guys.
Oh, no.
Hold on. Pause. Reset.
Again.
God damn
it.
Redo. Gosh, what the hell?
We are very professional.
All right. Combat Sports Today podcast. I was on there last week. Called out Tinfoil Mike Perry.
Okay.
Fucking throwdown. You know, he had his first showing of the
Dirty Boxing.
Dirty Boxing. You know, I watched it. Some okay fights on there, some decent fights. But you know, he's on the mic or whatever, talking stuff, and he's like, "Oh, is this guy gonna call me out?" I think this guy might. He did get called out by somebody.
Yeah, but Monster Uli Monster Diaz, a former BKFC fighter. He brought him into the ring. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but really, I'm the fight it needs to be making. I mean, legit, and I can tell you, fans want it too. They want to see carnage. They want to see damage, and I'll crumble old Tinfoil Mike.
Why are we calling him Tinfoil Mike?
Instead of Platinum. Come on, what are you talking about? It's right there. The layup, fucking Tinfoil Mike. He's gonna get crumbled. Okay. Okay. That obviously you didn't.
No. Okay, I get it. Yeah. I got it. I thought this was like into conspiracy theories or something, like tinfoil hat or something. Oh, okay,
I mean, I guess you can go right along with it. That's how he got the tinfoil name, I guess.
Yeah. All
right. Yeah. Anytime. Let's go, Mike.
Fucking Mike Perry.
That's what the people want to see, though.
He needs a good name to fight. See, now I got something in my eye and I'm dying.
He needs a good name. I'm a name.
Look, yeah.
I've fought. Good striker.
He needs someone. Yeah, and he needs someone who's going to do the dance. You know,
the fucking dance. I'll be right in his fucking face the whole time.
But this is what I'm saying, right? You need someone who's going to be there, who's going to be able to take it, who's going to be able to punch it. Like someone who's gone to wars, someone who's there, man. That's you.
Yeah.
Frick. So what's up? Is Mike Perry responding?
He had little to say, little to nothing to say.
What a loser, right? God damn it. To be honest, I do think he seems like a pretty cool guy when I've listened to him on shows and stuff like that. Like, you know,
I
don't know where he's gone now. I don't know like whether things have gotten to his head or blah blah blah. Like, I don't know where he's at now. But he seems like a pretty cool dude. You know, he is a family man, got his wife and 2 kids. Yeah. But goddamn, sack up.
No disrespect in that. Like, good on you, man, and you've done some good things. But I do think this is the fight to make.
Yep. I like it. Cut this shit up. Let's go. We'll cut this, make it a promo.
Got to erase all the other shit. All the other shit.
Don't worry. That's fine. I got it.
And then the whole, Why is it tinfoil? I don't get it.
I feel like that's a question that people need to know, Bam.
No, they would have. I mean, I think
Do you think
kinda
people got
picked
it?
up. Yes.
All right,
Yes.
You know what? To be fair, I forgot his nickname was Platinum. That's why. So I didn't.
Oh, okay. That's what it
You know
was.
what I mean?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Like I didn't. I was confused. I thought there was a show called Tinfoil Hat. I didn't know what
That's
was happening.
hilarious.
Look,
That is
we've
hilarious.
used our brain way too much for the legal stuff. But dude, that was such a fantastic show, man. I really hope people can watch this and understand what the hell's going on, and learn a little bit about this, and just be able to look. You should be able to know about this story and then be able to talk about it with people and have a good discussion.
Yeah.
Rather than online, all you see is free Cain should have had 0. Free Cain, justice system sucks. Free Cain, blah blah blah. Right? Like. People are just so like, it's like, and then I'm like, are these people just stupid, or do they really believe this? Could you have a discussion about it? Could you explain why you think you think in a million years some guy driving around shooting bullets near an elementary school should get 0 time? Like, stupid.
It's tough. I think, I mean, when he came out and said too, and everything is like, he knows he's going to get time.
I made a mistake. And,
when it settled down, he knew he was going to get time for his actions.
Yep.
The fact that what he did and stuff too. So I mean, he knows he was going to get time, after it all and everything, and it all happened. So yeah, I think people and good for him only getting the 5 years and maybe even less, than that. We watch the podcast, you'd know.
Yeah, exactly.
Dan
now
answered all our questions.
Look, we're gonna get out of here now. If we do add in, or if by the time you're seeing this, I guess if we have added in the Max Holzer podcast, holy shit, this will be a long episode. Yeah. But aside from that, bam, we're out of here, man. I'll put up a few videos that you can click on if you're watching this on YouTube. I'll do the last one that we had with Daniel Chung. And then maybe the other one we had with Daniel Martinez, with the other lawyer that talked about the case. Maybe I'll do both the 2 Cain Velasquez cases because you're interested in that. I'll throw those up there. Good luck to frickin' Max Stifler Holza at Octagon 69.
Good luck, Max.
Yeah.
I want to know. I can't wait to see what you walk out with costume-wise.
Dude, it's going to be awesome, man. And again, I greatly apologize, Bam. Totally my fault, screwing up on the time. But we're out of here. I'll see you next week.
Bye.